Welcome to an emerging forest, a safe place where we have the freedom to think about life without judgment. We take a look at society, we examine it, and we allow for the possibility of something new, something different. And now, here's your host, Alan Ritter.
Welcome, everyone, and it is the beginning of May 2020, and my guest tonight saw the opportunity a month or so ago, or had their eyes on Earth Day, the 50th Earth Day, the 50th anniversary of the first Earth Day. And they said, "Hey, we have to do something." And then the pandemic came along, and there would be no getting together. So Dave Miller and Cheryl Glover of Touch Mother Earth are joining me tonight. Welcome, Dave. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, Alan.
Hey, Alan.
And what was the process where you basically looked at the situation and said, "Okay, we're not going to walk away. We're going to do something"?
Well, the quick backstory is that we put together a festival once a year, and Cheryl and I came down to Florida for our honeymoon with the idea that we'd be planning a festival for September. And then the quarantine, the stay-at-home, everything hit us all at once. And I saw an article that said the 50th year of Earth Day is going to have to be virtual. And it really hit me because the whole point of Earth Day is to gather in the parks, maybe plant a tree, start your garden. Everything that's, earth-friendly, people do river cleanups, etc. And the realization that we weren't going to be able to meet really hit home. And I said to Cheryl, we need to come up with a way to keep this going because people are really sad. They're not able to meet. They're already missing normal events. And I said, let's do a virtual festival. Why can't we do it online? Other people are going live with their music, and we were a little bit familiar with Zoom. And Cheryl said, "Well, why make it one day? Let's make it." We looked at the calendar. It was a Wednesday, and we thought. The first thought was, "Oh, well, people don't do things on Wednesday," and then we realized we don't really have a big difference between one day and another, except maybe what's on TV or something. So we decided to take the chance and do it for 5 days. And our initial thought was, we'd plan a couple activities each day with the focus being Earth-centered on Earth Day, and we'd see how it works. Well, the response was overwhelming. We had people that wanted to sign up for every possible time slot we had, from 7 in the morning until midnight or 1 in the morning. And so we quickly learned we got a scheduling calendar, and we ended up with half-hour slots so that everybody could start their program. Every 30 minutes would be a new slot. And if you think about it for a moment, it's kind of like a calendar. A doctor's office would say, okay, we've got an appointment for 6:30 p.m., and the next patient would come in for 7 p.m. But the goal here was it's more like a TV station where you could be watching something at 6:30, but maybe it lasts for an hour. And if at 7 you were bored or you didn't like it or, you saw something else you wanted, at 7 o'clock you could change the channel. So effectively, we were one big virtual TV station that ended up having 160 presentations.
Yeah, and that was, that was an incredible experience for us on a number of different levels. Our first motivation, besides Earth Day, was to get everybody noted, because here is a new economy that people can approach. They can embrace it. And a lot of people didn't know how to embrace that new economy, where we are home, we need to get noted, we need to use media in a different way, and we don't need to rely on the big economy that says this is what you shall watch. Instead, we let everybody to be as creative as can be and take responsibility for their own production. And the magic came together. It was just literally magic how things, people signed up and people took their crafts to such a higher level to show the world that the new economy is out there. There's new people there. There's new artists. There's new psychics and spiritual teachers and psychological teachers and yoga teachers. So we embraced both earth, mind, body, and spirit, and everybody kind of came together.
One of the things that was really nice. Go ahead.
One of the things that was really nice was you find people, they've had this hidden talent or they've wanted to have an audience, basically their soapbox and a chance to address something that concerning them or that they felt that they want to share. And they could take up any of the slots and 25 or 30 minutes have an audience. And the audience might be people they invited, but it would be the general population that was attending the 5 days. And so people who never felt comfortable renting a yoga studio or some other space now had the space to do it, and they got to do it in their own comfort of their own living room. And it did take some learning. They had to get Zoom on their phone or their computer, and some people went all out. We had one woman who went and bought professional mics and stands and set everything up for her sound healing and tested it in advance so that she knew everything would work and made sure the backdrop looked good, and then created her own Facebook business page as a result. So there were a lot of side effects of this, the behind-the-scene planning, but the end results, the people took themselves to a higher professional level, is just amazing.
So one of the presenters... Oh, go ahead, Cheryl.
No, go ahead, Alan. Let's go to the presenters.
So one of the presenters and the founder of Earth School, of which I am a part, is also on the line, and I'd just like to bring her on live. Hi, Santha. How are you?
Hi. I'm great. Thanks for inviting me
here. Hi, Santha.
Hi.
Well, thank you for participating.
Yeah.
You want to tell quickly, you had the ability to do 3 unique events as part of it. You want to share briefly what each one were?
Oh, well, I did do 3 things, and they were 3 quite different from one another, which I liked, to show some of the different range of kinds of things that we do as part of Earth School. I took everyone on a garden tour, which I know you enjoyed since you've been down in Florida for some period of time, and here it was in the Northeast. And so we went on a garden tour. That was fun. That did push my envelope in terms of including videos with a PowerPoint, with a Zoom call, and getting all the different puzzle pieces working for that presentation. And I also shared the daily 3M class that we do, morning movement and meditation. And some new people came and have been continuing to come to that class, so I'm really happy about that. And then the last one was a how to do it workshop, how to grow an indoor salad garden, homegrown indoor salad garden on your windowsill with different kinds of sprouts. So that was fun too. Yeah, they were good.
What did you learn in terms of putting together each of the events? Because I know that PowerPoint must have taken some challenging time there.
It did take a fair amount of time. I've done PowerPoints before, and I really enjoy putting them together because it helps with the thread of the conversation that I want to have, and it helps me be both spontaneous but also organized. But I had never done one including videos before, so that was good. And I don't know. I've been a teacher for a long time, and so organizing content to present in front of a group of people is something I've had years of experience doing. But doing it virtually and with so many different pieces of technology integrated was the sort of the edge, the new level that I went to, and including the videos. And having someone else take the photographs of me doing the things so that, or of the garden, so that I could be seen was also a new edge for me.
So for those
and also all your
not...
scheduling and was also a new edge too. All your way of including the scheduling and being part of a larger conference and the conversations that you and I had to get it all to plug into your very complicated system. Yeah.
Well, we definitely had to learn on the fly. And one thing for people who do want to see her events, we will try to have them up on our website, which is touchmotherearth.com. And from there is a link to the archives, which brings you to touchmotherearth.org. And we hope to include as many of the 160 events as possible. You surprised me because I had never seen a slow motion video or a time lapse video, and it definitely gave the feeling like we were in walking your garden. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, it was really fun to push play and have the wind blowing and the plants moving. It really did feel very, very alive, and yet have the backbone of structure. So I was pleased with the result. Yeah.
And your first event, the actual garden tour, took place on Earth Day, which was one of the goals that I had shared with Cheryl was let's take people who are cooped up in their houses, because just a few days before there had been snow up in Ithaca and I think over in Bangor, PA, if I remember. You may have had some snow. So
we
be
did,
able to show people. Yeah, so to be able to take people out and see what flowers were in bloom and give us a sense, a perspective was very good. And then your salad garden especially is one of those helpful things that people can use year-round. And you made it very simple. You gave them different options on how to do it. So thank you again for that.
Yeah. And today I went out and I made a lot of herbal vinegar and some pickles of dandelion buds. I had never thought of that, but I read it somewhere and I gave it a try. So following up on some of those plants that were in that video, and now really that was like a lead-in to me for the year, for this season as we come into the spring, to really stay connected and go deeper into learning a lot about the different plants. And when Earth School comes again, hopefully we'll be able to make some of those things with them, with the different edible and useful plants that are just growing wild here. Yeah.
Well, this is the kind of thing with things like Facebook Live and Zoom and even photographs or video taken in advance. These things can be used year-round so that we can use it as a teaching tool for people who don't have access to come and see it in person.
Mhm. It's true. Yeah. That's true.
So it wasn't without challenges. I will say that my experience with Zoom prior to this was limited to being a participant, where I just simply either dialed in a number or clicked on a link, and I was led into the meeting, and then I shared what I did. And the nice thing about Zoom is you can choose to simply be a listener. You don't have to have your camera on. You don't have to have a microphone on. Or you can be a very active participant and share your own screen, be able to, give feedback, take notes. There's a chat section for comments, and the whole thing gets recorded so that, if you miss it or you want to catch up on something you weren't sure you understood, you can go back and listen to it. So I do think that Zoom is a very good platform in that respect. It wasn't without some bugs, because even ourselves, Cheryl and I have our own offices, which are about 15 feet apart, and trying to have two microphones on caused feedback, and we had to learn how to, placement of the microphone, et cetera. It took a little learning curve. And then also just the idea that we were monitoring the board. Usually Cheryl was the host and I was the co-host, so that we could both monitor things, but it still takes, it takes some learning to get used to it. And then as far as the participants, people out in, the audience land, they had to get Zoom on their phone or their computer, and we provided the link in various aspects, but people didn't realize it wasn't something you just pushed the button and it was ready to go. You had to download it first and recognize it and then know where to go for it. And then once you clicked on the link, then yes, it automatically answered. And people would forget sometimes that they're on camera, so they didn't realize what might be in the background or extra noises like an air conditioner or the refrigerator going on or a truck driving by. So there was that aspect. We had seen it coming. We had watched the Country Music Awards where each of the artists was performing from their house. And one of the beauties was you might be seeing a gentleman on guitar with one of his kids in the background, and the dog was sitting there with them, and it made you feel like you were in their house. It was really nice. So I did like that level. And that, of course, Zoom allows you to give feedback, either verbally or written. Now, Facebook Live is a whole another aspect, because with Facebook Live, it's one directional. It's more like you're watching a TV program, although you do have the ability to make comments, which can be answered after the fact, or if you can get close enough to your screen, maybe respond. We know of music concerts where somebody might type in a request for a song, and if they saw it, they'd say, oh, yeah, we could do that one, and then they'd play that song. Now,
it was interesting it was also interesting how forgiving the audience was. I know we kicked it off, and I did a Qigong ceremony where we touched the roots of the trees and of the earth and everything. And one of our cameras had wind going in it and sound, and people were laughing and everything else. But, the audience took it at a very peaceful level. They knew that there were things that are going to happen that were not, professionally organized, or as much as we could professionally organize it, and things happened. And time again, we kept seeing that, things would go. But it was a learning lesson, especially for us. We're quarantined in Florida and not in New Jersey, where we have the room to work, where our offices are then, 500 feet apart. And so some of those challenges, time after time, performer and presenter really stepped up for them, and audiences were so forgiving. The feeling of love and the feeling of acceptance is part of what this 5 days produced. And I thought
Very
that was
true.
just a beautiful thing.
And I would like to interject that Daniel has also joined us.
Well, very good.
Hi, Daniel.
If we, before we start, if we could ask whoever is using the pots and pans in the kitchen if they could not. I think it's Santha.
Yes, it is. Craig's washing the dishes. I'll go to a different place.
So, Dalien, you were part of our event, and then you were also just part of another 24-hour marathon event. What did you see in terms of behind the scenes, the production, and?
Well, hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Good to connect again with everybody. Yeah, I've come off a bunch of different events, all crammed within a 2-3 week period of time of all different, I guess, technical levels of requirement, I guess, to say, for lack of a better term. Yeah, I mean, I helped Dave, and I offered a nice, offering for his wonderful event, the 5-day Touch Mother Earth Festival. And then Chelsea had a central yoga love fest at a PA for just a day, and I was able to do something for that. And then in between all that, for the last 3 weeks, I've been in the trenches doing a lot of back and forth with video and audio with the Call to Unite, another organization, all again about just trying to get people connected and help others. And Maria Shriver's brother, Tim Shriver, is kind of one of the spearheading founders of that. So it was one of the biggest things I've been involved with in a very long time. So the technical demands were intense just because they had a creative company, that was part of developing all this content and all these segments, from talks to different people, first responders, healthcare workers. There were some celebrities, and there were some, musicians and artists. Josh Groban did something. So it was interesting to watch how they were able to kind of seamlessly get everything kind of ordered in a way so that it just continuously would stream for 24 hours. And that's kind of above my brain capacity. But just for what I had to do, the differences between, just the setting up of a Facebook live stream, which again, as Dave, was saying, it's like, yeah, there's a certain authenticity to it where you just kind of set up a decent, the iPhone seems to have a decent camera, and I think like the 9, the 10, and the 11, if you use that and get the lighting right, if you get it at the right distance from the sound source that you're trying to capture, you can get a really great, pretty balanced presentation, which is what I did for Dave's thing, because it was just trying to figure out what's going to be the easiest way to do this. So yeah, you run as I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I had like 4 hours sleep for the past 2 days. But yeah, you have to test the levels, and you have to do these trial and error things to just so you're not distorting, right? And you record it and you listen back at your sound, especially if it's if you're doing amplification. You have to just kind of go back and forth and test levels so you get a good level that's being picked up by the phone, camera, audio thing, right? So that it'll stream in a relatively balanced way. And I did the same kind of thing for Chelsea's event. I was going to try to pre-record some stuff, but I had no time. Like I wanted to do a whole like nutrition thing, and I did a little bit, but there was just no time. I was sandwiching 3 projects all within a 3-week period of time to just kind of figure out what to do. And the demands of the Call to Unite were arduous. It was like 13-hour days for 3 weeks, just getting the segments together back and forth. And it was, when you're dealing with that level of production, they have an idea of what the segment would be. Like the one, if you saw it or you heard about it, I was able to do this thing with these orphans in Africa where we timed the footage where they were singing my song, and it was really beautiful. And it came out, they replayed it because in the first round they loaded up the wrong clip. They just had me playing without the kids, and so like everybody in the production's like, oh geez, and you hear all the people in the background like, oh my god, like where are the kids? And so they had to go back and reinsert the right footage. And so things happen. I mean, it's no big deal, but it's the level. It's just a high. I don't know how they do it. It's the levels of stress, right, and like higher bar of perfection. It's like I don't know. And not that it wasn't authentic. It was very authentic, and it was a very meaningful intention to try to really, get that much content in a 24-hour period of time. But from a technical perspective, yeah, I had my work cut out for me because, it required a lot of back and forth where we had to kind of almost like act out different scenarios because we weren't really clear on what we wanted. You know, we knew we wanted to do something with the kids and have them back and forth singing with my song, but it was just like, wow, all right, so how do we do this? Because I'm not in Africa. And the hard part, as you know, right, Dave and Cheryl, right? Cheryl, right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my brain with me. I'm holding on. It's so you have to pretend that you're in the room with the kids, because the hard part with live streaming, and as I'm sure Dave and Cheryl can attest, and anybody else who's done it, when you try to Zoom with any type of collaborative live situation, you know, there's all these latency issues with the internet. You know, if you're close to each other, proximity in the same town, or maybe a couple counties over, you might be able to get quicker latency. But you know, the minute you get out of like 100-mile radius, you just get off the beat. Like it's almost like they're hearing you a beat later than what you're playing, and it's this whole latency thing. And there's equipment for that. It's like there's thousands of dollars of equipment you can use to kind of self-correct the latency to try to pull off a live performance musically. Music is always a tough thing to do in some of a live stream, especially, you know, I'm out in kind of rural Pennsylvania right now, so, you know, I'm still operating on a very, you know, mid-range strength 4G, hotspot. So, you know, it does good with like talking on the laptop, but when you want to do like music stuff, you know, sometimes you have to practice it, pre-record it, and then a lot of times at the bigger level, that's what they do. Their sessions are pre-recorded, and they collaborate and they send them back and forth. Music that way too. You know, sometimes you have to practice it.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's
all I got.
Like you were saying, when we were going into this, prior to the event itself, people were wanting to do a drum circle on Zoom.
Right.
And you can't do it because my signal goes up to a satellite tower, comes down to you, and like you said, I'm on the on beat, and you're hearing it when I'm on the off beat, and then you try to join to me, and it's just a mishmash of sound at that point.
It sounds like we're all falling down.
And yes, there is equipment, but you know what? The thing that was nice about this was the simplicity, because Cheryl and I basically put it together on a shoestring. We did buy a windscreen microphone, and we ordered a webcam that didn't come, but that's okay. We managed. But, you know, because of the simplicity and things that were not in your control, some of the most magic happened. And one of the examples was we were doing belly laughter, drum and dance, and we were sitting there, and right in the middle of it, one of the ducks that lives a couple hundred feet from our house decided to come and visit and got on camera and thought I had food in my hand. And it was just a beautiful moment that you can't plan for. And another example was during that same drumming, we had some of the neighbors came out, and all of a sudden we realized they had taken out their phones and they were catching us live, and they didn't necessarily know that we were doing a live broadcast. But it was an honor to have an audience right, you know, socially way distant from us. And then the third one was we had planned for this great drumming outside as part of the closing day. And about an hour and a half before, boom, came the rain, massive thunder, lightning. And we realized we were going to have to do this inside, and we have people living on top of us. So we figured the best way was to go out on our enclosed porch, which we did. And in the middle of it, well, towards the end of it, we hear a big knock on the door, and the property manager and the neighbor who lives upstairs were outside, like, "What are you guys doing?" And we said, we're live on TV. Do you want to come in? And they all got scared and kind of went away, but we had to stop.
Yeah.
So, now Cheryl had some really good moments because she.
I need to do a break here, so
sure.
I'm going to play a few things, and then we can get back into this discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.